The time is 6:30. I'd like to call the Wednesday, June 21st meeting of Boone County Board to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then after the pledge, we'll take a quick seat, and we'll have an invocation from Bob Kopp.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carl mentioned that he wanted me to mention a little bit about what our family Faith on the Corner of Lincoln, Maine is doing with other churches in the community before I offer an invocation. I just want to mention two that I think are significant and groundbreaking. The first is that First Presbyterian Church and St. James Roman Catholic Church works together for a compassion closet, feeding the poor and those who need some extra help. And then the other is we work with the Grove in Poplar Grove with Brian Phillips. And every year we have an annual appreciation night coming at the end of July for members of the Boone County Sheriff's Department and also Belvedere Police. Anyway, we're close to July 4th, and Boone County residents, with thanks to God, are among the most patriotic citizens in our country. And so I'd like to read a very familiar passage that includes a promise from God, but also a distinct warning. Solomon, among the wisest men who ever lived, wrote, "Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people." Righteousness, godliness, wanting to be right with God exalts or preserves a nation, but sin, rejecting God's will for your life in God's Scripture, is a disgrace. And it leads to the decline of a country. Righteousness exalts America, but sin leads to its decline. A quick exposition. God is saying to America and to Boone County, return to me, and I will restore you. If not, not. Let us pray. Father, tonight we thank you for these women and men called, elected, and sworn to lead our county and model someone better for us and to the corners of the country. Take their hearts for you and give them heads with more wisdom than knowledge, guts with instincts for you over partisanships and silly ideologies fixed in time. And as we pray for them, as they shepherd us after the perfect pattern of the Good Shepherd Jesus by the book, send your Holy Spirit to bless them where they need blessing, so they are not distracted from this high calling to this end. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King. This we pray, all for the glory of Jesus, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Carl Johnson.
Here.
Sherry Branson.
Here.
Jeff Carlisle.
Here.
Denny Ellingson.
Here.
Sherry Gieske.
Here.
Carl Larson.
Here.
Ray Larson.
Here.
Jessica Muehlner.
Here.
Marshall Newhouse.
Here.
Bernard O'Malley.
Here.
Brad Stark.
Here.
Kathy Ward.
Here.
On the agenda, Ken, do you have anything that you'd like to add to the agenda?
Could we add under executive session personnel?
I have that written down also. Anything else anybody needs to add? I accept a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment of adding personnel to an executive session.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Mr. Newhouse. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes from May 17th board meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Sherry Branson, seconded
Second.
by Ms. Ward. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointments. We do have some appointments. I know there's at least two gentlemen here to be appointed. Mr. George Thomas, if you could stand up, please. Mr. Thomas is being appointed to fill the position for Boone County District, or Boone County Conservation District, I'm sorry, with a 5-year term, starting in June here. I didn't see Dana Carroll here. Ray Rhodes, is he here? There he is. Wonderful. Mr. Rhodes is for the Boone County Ethics Commission. He's been on that position for a little while, I believe, and he's asked to remain, so we appreciate that. And everybody knows this last guy, Ron Waite. Ron? There's Mr. Waite. And Ron is being appointed to the Community Building Complex. We all know that that's a near and dear endeavor to his heart. So I think he just remembers all the sentences he had to write on the blackboard years ago when he was there. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you sincerely for your willingness to serve the county and the citizens of Boone County, and we really appreciate you stepping forward to do so. So with that, I would accept a motion to approve the appointments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ward, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, thank you very much. You are free to stay or free to go if you like. Thank you. Next up, we have some recognition. This is certainly an ongoing thing with the Sheriff's Department. That means we have very, very quality people. So, Sheriff, I will turn things over to you.
If I could call up Beryl Hudson first, one of the finest members of the Sheriff's Office. Please step up. I wanted to introduce Beryl Hudson and recognize her for all her years of service for volunteering in the Boone County Jail. She is a member of the Retired Senior Volunteer Program through Lutheran Social Services. She has volunteered at the Boone County Jail for the past 15 years. Besides organizing a lot of the detainee programs, she also instructs, and she also basically runs our library. And like I said, she's done that for the past 15 years. Some of the things, just to kind of inform the board, we have many volunteers. We have over 100 volunteers on the Sheriff's Office when it comes to, obviously, our Sheriff's Reserves that you see out like at the fair, our VIPs, our EMA people, our CERT members, and several members, like Beryl, also assist the Sheriff's Office. Some of the things that Beryl does for corrections when she instructs the detainees are programs like life after incarceration, anger management, code of ethics, parenting, and the list goes on and on. We actually recognized her on May 23rd up at the Sheriff's Office and gave her an award for the Volunteer Service Award for this year. And one of my favorite programs, which is something that she does back in corrections, is they pick out a book and the inmates actually read this book and put it on a CD. And that CD, along with a card, actually goes to their family. So if they have children at home, the detainees actually read, and their child, they are also they're victims of a different sense. It's not the children's fault why some of these people are incarcerated. So again, it's trying to keep these units together, and she does a wonderful job with that program, which I think is really very, very noble. Not as big as an award as what we presented. She was awarded the Governor's Award back in April 25th, and she actually traveled all the way down to Springfield. Oh, there's she actually, that's no coincidental, she actually carries that everywhere she goes. So, very, very impressive. But she actually, it's a Governor's Volunteer Service Award. She traveled to Springfield, received it amongst hundreds of nominees in the state, and she actually received that award. So it speaks very highly for her and all the volunteers that actually help out the county in multiple ways. So thank you so much for making the trip out, and keep up the good work. She didn't want to say anything today, so. Now I have a couple of meritorious awards that I would like to present. If I could have some of my finest sergeants of the Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Scott Young and Ed Krieger, please come forward. Actually, if Chief Deputy Pollack, would you mind coming up here, and we're going to present these awards. Please stand up here. We have Sergeant Young here and Sergeant Krieger. Scott has actually worked for the Sheriff's Office for 29 years, so he's one of the old-timers. He doesn't look it. Ed has worked up there. He looks like one of the old-timers, but he's only been with us, what, 21 years? So both of these guys do outstanding work for the Sheriff's Office, very, very committed. And part of their commitment, and what I've talked about at several board meetings, is the further education that we want our people to have that makes our department stronger in the next generation, and people we train to take our places in the future. I will read this. The first one is for Sergeant Scott Young. On May 26, 2017, Sergeant Scott Young graduated from the Northwest University School of Police Staff and Command, which is actually a training course that is world-renowned for real. We're very blessed that Northwestern is so close, but people come from all over the world that actually come to this class. The Police Staff and Command program is an intensive 10-week course that provides upper-level college instruction to law enforcement managers. The major topics of study include leadership, human resources, employee relations, organizational behavior, applied statistics, one of the favorite courses, planning and police development, budgeting, and resource allocation. This is a really hard class, and I will tell you, when we send some of our people back here, Scott, for example, who has been, well, Ed the same way, these are guys that have been out of school for 30 years plus. So you're actually going into this higher level. It's very intimidating. It's a huge commitment. 10 weeks they're away from their family, and again, that comes with true dedication to the county. Sergeant Young, you are commended for your outstanding performance that was above and beyond your official duties. Your actions have brought credit upon yourself and the entire department. On this day, you are awarded the Meritorious Service Award. Now, I have to tell you, as I was doing this for Scott, I realized that I did not present this award to Sergeant Krieger last year when he attended. I don't know how. Actually, I was on my computer saying I was going to do the exact same thing that I did for Ed, and I couldn't find it. And of course, I asked Chief Deputy, who remembers everything. He said, I don't think you did anything. So Ed happened to be working tonight, and he gets the exact same thing as Scott. And I won't read it. It's the exact same course. His was actually May 20th, 2016. And I work really fast because he also has the same certificate. But I can't say enough for these two guys because it really is a grueling, tough course to take. And a lot of people are very intimidated to do this. But again, it shows the commitment, and we're trying to make our department the best it can possibly be. So with that, Ed, a year late, congratulations.
Thank you. You bet. Thank you, Sheriff. Next up, we have public comment. I have two individuals here. Jeff Swanson, if you'd like to come on up to the podium. Just as a reminder, when you get to the podium, you'll have to hold the microphone very, very close, and please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jeff Swanson.
Much closer, much louder.
Oh. My name is Jeff Swanson. I live at 11696 Garden Prairie Road in Garden Prairie. And I don't know if any of you board members know where that's at, but if not, if you take Garden Prairie Road north of Woodstock Road, it dead ends on north. I'm just south of Worth. And the reason I'm here tonight is to ask the board to seriously consider passing some kind of a noise ordinance. And I'll tell you why. Saturday night, there was a large, loud, drunken party about a quarter of a mile away from my house. It was so bad that I had the air conditioning on, the doors were closed, the windows were closed, the air conditioner was on, and I could still hear it. I couldn't sleep. I called the sheriff's department, and they said they would stop by, but there wasn't a lot they could do because the county has no noise ordinance. So after the police left and they turned the music down, 15, 20 minutes later it was going again. This lasted till 2:30 in the morning. Like I said, I'm a quarter of a mile away. There's other residents that live right next door. I can't believe what they had to go through. So I'd really would like you to consider something to give the police department or the sheriff's office some kind of tools to put an end to this. And this isn't the first time. The residents in my area had to put up with this the entire summer last year, and it's starting again this year. So something needs to be done, but as far as the sheriff's department told me, there's not much they can do without some kind of a noise ordinance. Hopefully, we'll get something done, because it's getting old.
Thank you very much. Next up, I have Amber Mueller. Once again, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Amber Mueller. I live at 10636 Orth Road in Garden Prairie. I'm here for the same reason as my neighbor Jeff. I am representing myself, my husband, a lot of neighbors who just couldn't be here tonight. We have 2 small children at home and about 300 cows. We live on a dairy farm about a half mile from the residence with the parties. I mean, this Saturday, like you said, we put up with it all last year, but this Saturday was beyond out of control. I actually called the sheriff at 12:30 and found out I wasn't the first caller, and that's the first time I've actually called, just because I've been scared in the past to call. But I just thought they were being so disrespectful, I was going to call, and I was shocked to find out that they'd already been there and that it was still continuing just because there wasn't a rule in place for them to follow through on, and the neighbors know that. So once the sheriff leaves, they just turn it right back up. Like Jeff said, with our windows closed a half mile away, we can hear it in the house. The windows will rattle. Our cows won't even go in the pasture those nights because they're scared. So it's definitely impacting our lives. So I'm trying to think of a solution and what to do, and just so surprised that we don't have a sound ordinance. So in the past 2 days when I found out this meeting was happening and got a babysitter real quick and got here, I have Googled a lot, and I've found some simple and complex things we could maybe look at doing. There's some really good resources on nonoise.org and noisefree.org. They have examples of ordinances in Illinois and throughout the U.S. There's also manuals to help boards assist in writing noise ordinances. It could be as basic as saying no use of speakers, amplification, sound systems after a time limit of, say, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. that is audible from 75 feet from the property line. So if you went like that route, you wouldn't even need to buy new equipment. The officers could use the dash cams, their phones, I don't know if we have body cams or tablets, anything to just prove 75 feet away there was recordable noise from speakers. Or you could be more precise. Some towns have certain decibel levels that once that's reached, they have meters, and then the people could be fined. Nowadays, there are decibel readers for phones that are as cheap as $4, or if you want an ANSI-approved one, I found some nice ones that other departments are using for about $400 with calibrators. I even brought some handouts if I could hand them to someone just to save people time in the future. I've read other communities such as Aurora and Yorkville. Maybe we could reach out to them and find out the pros and cons of their ordinances. I would just suggest working with the Sheriff's Department, seeing what they think would be the best solution. Maybe it could even build revenue for the county if they're getting a lot of money from these fines. Maybe more, I mean, maybe there's not a lot of calls right now, but maybe that's because people know there's no rule, so they're not even calling in. But I know for us, I mean, we're all about family and enjoying and celebrating, but once it's late, I mean, we are respectful of everyone and we shut it down. And I just feel bad that our neighbors are being so disrespectful to us and the Sheriff's Department by continuing to break the rule, or not break a rule, but to not listen to them right after they leave. So, like Jeff said, I hope we can look into some type of noise ordinance or rule. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As far as your handouts, if you want to, I guess, set them on the table, we'll make sure that they get copied and all board members get a copy of it.
They're just real quick.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Council on Aging. Mr. Ellingson.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a meeting 2 nights ago.
Hold on a second. Yes,
I
Ms.
believe we
Branson?
have one more public comment.
I only had 2 sheets. I'm sorry, is there one more up there? Excuse me, Mr. Ellingson.
Oh, no problem. Glad we caught it.
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Branson. Oh, that's all right. Thank you very much. If you'd like to go ahead, come up, give your name and address. Make sure you talk real loud in the microphone, please.
My name is Mike Poplick. I live at 604 West 8th Street, Belvedere, Illinois. I'm here because I'm very concerned about the recent changes at the Belvedere Boone County Food Pantry and the impact it will have on the Boone County residents. The pantry has taken decades to build and it serves 1,700 people per month. It started as a way to feed the hungry, and after decades of hard work, it has grown to be our county's main disaster relief agency. Recently, numerous Belvedere residents lost their home due to an apartment complex fire, and when that happened, many went to the pantry and area churches for help. The pantry gave them donated furniture and clothing and toiletries and household items and food to help them rebuild their homes. Recently, the pantry has only 5 board members, decided to eliminate most of what they gave out and to focus instead on distributing food. They then started turning away much of what was donated to them. This means that people will no longer be able to get furniture, household items from the pantry and will be forced to turn to Goodwill or the Salvation Army, who will likely charge them. The board also decided to clean out their warehouse and have put 2 of their trucks up for sale. Those trucks were used to pick up non-food related items. This board of 5 people is taking action that is eliminating what has taken years to create for our county, and I'm very concerned about where people will go when they need things other than food. I urge everyone here tonight to contact the pantry board members and beg them to reconsider this before it's too late and the donations are gone. The current board members are Owen Costanza, David Larson, Kim Dixon, Emily Cooper, and Mark Zellman. I also ask our county board to take action to protect our disaster relief agency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment? All right. Council on Aging, Mr. Ellingson.
Thank you again. Meeting was Monday night, Monday late afternoon. Much of the comments are the same as they normally are. We're worried about where the next money's coming from the state. The state owes a lot of money. But all in all, the thing I got out of it is the most important thing maybe to note is this paper I sent around to everybody. It's got the different colors on it, talking about increases in older adults in Boone County. And it's just kind of shocking when you look at the categories, and there's different years on different things because of the way census is done, and maybe some things that are done with that year's census. But if you look at it, Boone County's at about the top. They're either first or second in each of the categories shown here. In spite of the fact, the big difference in size of counties, you know, that makes up for it, you would think the percentages would tend to take care of that. But the one that is most shocking to me as I get across it, and you'll see we're first or second in all of them, but the very last one is the increase in seniors living in poverty. In Boone County, and this was actually for the year 2013 compared to 14 that they're using, we were 36% increase in seniors living in poverty in Boone County. The state average for that year was 4.8%. It just points out to me that I don't know if it's the census, the way it's taken, but it appears we have more challenges in that than many people do in the state. I'm surprised to see some of the minuses on some of the other counties and saying, well, such as the increase in people over 75, there's several with almost negligible increase or minuses, and I can't think they turn them out of the county at that point. So I guess to be alive and increasing that number is better than going the other way. But I think there's just something that really says we've got some challenges here. And I think since this being in 13, 14, we'll probably see that there's maybe different numbers when we get back for a year or two from now. But it's something that says the Council on Aging is incredibly important agency in this country. We keep saying that in many different ways, but I see these numbers, and I think probably part of the increase is because people are finding out where they're at by going to the Council on Aging and working with other agencies. But I just wanted to share that back with you. If you've got questions on it, you can get a hold of the Council on Aging and get more detail. There's a 30-some page report that this comes from, but it's something we just need to pay attention to. That's it.
Ms. Ward?
That's a perfect segue to my comments because we are right now in the midst of planning our biggest fundraiser for the Keene Age Center. I'd really like you all to mark your calendars for November 4th. We already have some sponsors signing up, and perhaps that's because the group that's going to be honored are our first responders. So we're hoping that people on the county board will buy a table, that you will come. If anybody wants to sponsor a table, they're $350. I will take any and all people. Tonight we're meeting on Friday. We have an outstanding committee with some of the people in this room volunteering to help us. So think about it and understand exactly what Denny is saying. That was a great report. A little frightening to know that those numbers are out there. So if you can help us, talk to me and sign up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Mr. Ellingson, I know there's at least myself and maybe a few others that did not get that chart, so maybe you could make sure that... Oh, Ken stopped him here. Ken's been holding on to him.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you pointed that out. We found the source of the problem, so we can...
There we go.
Yeah, we got it.
If Ken wasn't so valuable, we'd punish him. But we'll let this one slide.
Exactly.
I do want to take a quick moment and take a break here, and I forgot to do something very important this evening at the start of our meeting. I would like to welcome our newest member up here, Ms. Stapler, who has taken over for Mary Stewart, who is now relaxing and drinking coffee or wine or whatever, but she's not here tonight, so she's probably giggling to herself a little bit. But Julie, thank you very much for stepping up, and I know you're doing a wonderful job. Okay. Next up, Growth Dimensions, Pam Fettis.
Good evening. I apologize. I don't have a handout this evening. I had a typo, so I'll make sure that Julie gets a copy to distribute. Just to highlight a few things that we're been working on. We've been working with the Certified Sites Program with the Rockford Planning Council as well as the Rockford Area Economic Development Corporation We're trying to discuss some criteria and seeing whether or not we want to accept theirs or put some additional criteria on the program. So we're currently evaluating that and discussing that before we distribute that.
Excuse
We
me,
also wanted...
Pamela, could
Yes.
I get you to talk a
Oh,
little louder into that
sorry
mic?
about that. I'll do
We're
that.
not getting it on the...
I also wanted to let you know that Illinois won the 2017 Golden Shovel Economic Development Award from Area Development Magazine. This Golden Shovels are awarded to the top 5 states that exhibit large numbers of high-impact economic development projects. And that's based on significant investment in these projects as well as job creation. And there was actually 2 businesses that were cited from Boone County. And there was 10 businesses total that were cited, 2 from Boone County, which was Chrysler as well as Magna. And then others in the region came from Rockford and DeKalb. So Northern Illinois was well represented in that award. So also in business development, we are waiting for 4 projects that we have submitted. We did get word just before I came in this evening that one of the projects that we had discussed the last time I came was called Project Red. And they are looking at the end of this month to identify which sites in Illinois they are going to select to build. This could mean $8 to $12 million of investment and 50 to 70 jobs. So they're looking like 5 acres of land, about 75,000 square feet of space. So we're hoping that we'll be a contender in that, and we'll keep you updated. We're also working with Chrysler and Magna and other suppliers to celebrate their completion of their projects and their build-outs. So we'll be letting you know whether or not there's open houses scheduled in the near future, next coming months. As far as enterprise zones, we have 55 projects. 48 are industrial, 7 commercial. 55 total enterprise zone certificates that were awarded to 14 businesses in Boone County. The capital investment is estimated at over $23 million, and the construction material over $3 million. So it's quite an investment. We're doing very well. We do figure that this is going to tamper down with the build-outs of the Chrysler projects completing. However, we do have a lot of small businesses that are now utilizing the investment as well, the enterprise zones. We're still working on workforce development on the talent in the pipeline and manufacturing. It's been a challenge to get businesses at the table, so if you know of manufacturing businesses in our community that have problems with workforce development, we encourage that they participate in part of the solutions. We're going to be working or presenting at the Belvedere Area Chamber next week, June 29th, and July 13th, we're going to be with the Northern Illinois Farm Bureau, and July 27th with the Illinois Government Finance Officers Association. So, and that's about it.
Any questions? Ms. Ward?
In the last few months, I've had at least 3 different people in Boone County tell me that they've been contacted, including Ron Waite here tonight, about a company that wants to put solar panels on their land. Last week it was my friend Bob Edwards from Edwards Apple Orchard, and they're offering a lot of money an acre, like $800 to $1,000 an acre. And they want to know who they can contact to find out if this is legitimate. Could they come to you? Are you working with that?
They can come to me. However, I have not received any calls regarding that. Solar panels and placement. But yeah, absolutely. I'll be glad to guide them
Okay, thank you.
and validate it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Pam. Next up, CASA. I don't see Charlotte, so Mr. Carlisle.
It's me. I'm it. I am it. We have similar advocates, child care, in cases as we did last month. We actually have 2 people that we're swearing in for advocates, which is a great deal. It's going to help remove some of the caseloads off of our administrator, Charlotte. We also are, the fun things we got going on here is the roast, which is September 14th, and we are roasting Gary Turner. We would like to thank Alpine Bank, Galano Trucking, and General Mills for their gold sponsorships. We're looking for some silver sponsorships. You can find that information on the website. I'm not going to spout out numbers at the moment. We're also accepting any type of silent auction, baskets, gifts. Your picture with Gary Turner would be a nice one. And tickets are available soon. They'll be soon, pretty soon here, about $35 each. We also have a Chipotle fundraiser on July 27th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. You got to show the flyer when you get it. You can get the flyer from the CASA or from the Facebook page at CASA. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
When did you say the banquet, the roast was?
The roast, 14th September. Be there.
Oh, that's a little ways. That's a little ways off.
Hey, you got to put it on your calendar.
14. Okay.
You're going to run out and get a picture with Gary, aren't you?
Just one. Next up, Board of Health. I know Ms. Smell is gone tonight, so we have Lyndon Schuler. Skylar. Can't read my own writing.
Thank you and good evening. Amanda is in Springfield, and she asked me to step in and tell you a little bit about the National Association of County and City Health Officials grant that we got recently to do a customer satisfaction survey. This whole process actually began in the fall with the development of questionnaires, the purchase of hardware like the tablets and the kiosks. And once the questionnaires were developed, of course they were developed for the public health or the personal health side as well as the environmental side of the health department. We put together the survey on SurveyMonkey. The initial survey period lasted 90 days. We had 263 responses, which was considerably higher than the sample size needed for a 95% confidence interval. Many of our questions focused around the recognition of the Boone County Health Department as a health leader, a health resource, and a health partner for the entire community, which that whole concept has been the driving force behind the current management staff. Customers were asked about the quality and the importance of our services, also questions about the cost of our services and the value of the information we provide. Along with questions about specific services, customers were given a chance to give us feedback on their perceived value of the health department, of our services, along with what we were doing right and what we could improve. Our overall customer satisfaction rating at the end of the 90 days was 92%, with all programs receiving between a 90 and a 100% satisfaction rating. And what I thought was really exciting is that nearly half of our respondents left us comments. Some were compliments, some were suggestions, some were ideas. But to me, this demonstrates a trust and a commitment on the part of our customers and a confidence in the Board of Health that we would actually pay attention to what they had to say. After that, we actually did a second survey that focused on workforce development and on employee satisfaction with the health department, and 92% of the employees expressed total confidence in the management team, 90% welcoming the prospect of cross-training. I don't know if you're aware, but since Amanda took over, she has done a lot of streamlining within the health department, and she's starting to do a lot of cross-training simply because we have periods when one side of the health department is busier than the other. And where it is possible, where it's feasible, where it's practical, she is cross-training individuals to be able to work on both sides. As we strive to do more with less, it is gratifying to learn that the Boone County Health Department workforce welcomes the opportunity to cross-train. They're committed to the efforts to streamline and welcome the possibilities presented by our think tank approach to being a teaching health department. Regularly, we welcome interns. Currently, this summer, we have 3. one from, actually it's from Tulane University, who is working with our environmental staff. And of course, for those of you that aren't aware of how this works, it simply gives us additional people, additional staffing, gives staff time to do some staff development, and simply provides some new perspectives. As we move forward, our customer survey is going to be an ongoing tool. It's being slightly adjusted right now with some new questions. We're taking some out, adding some. But it will be ongoing. It will be continuous as we continue our strategic plan for long-term community development and economic growth. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Next, RPC, Regional Planning Council. There hasn't been a whole lot going on there. A lot of it's just combining WINGIS into the Regional Planning Council, or R1, Region 1 building, getting things up and running and revamping their offices and starting to formulate how it can help out for the whole group that's being generated and for the region. So there's things to come, but not a whole lot of news right now, so on the RPC. All right, anything else? Anything we missed? Next up, general consent items. I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse, seconded by Mr. Larson. Sorry, nodding. Mr. Ray Larson, by the way. Forget we have two. I do want to point out on your consent agenda, we do have some donations once again. I'll read those off here real quick. I'm not going to tell the amounts, but at least those who donated. Marjorie Carlson, Robert and Christine Bagelman, Kelly Mesa, Tess, boy, I'm going to blow this name, Slakowski, I guess. Those were all for the Animal Services Department. And then for Crime Prevention Fund, we have Dick and Teresa Leonard and James and Diane Brown. So thank you to all those individuals for supporting things in this county. We surely appreciate that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor to approve the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, PZB. Mr. Ellingson.
We don't have much to show on our paperwork here, but we do have two little things we want to talk about. The first one may not be little, the second one is, but Hillary has a couple of things to make mention on the comprehensive plan sheets that you have in front of you.
All right.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I gave you board members a handout. All we're doing is giving you guys an update of where our map, our Region 1 Planning Council, my bad, where we're at. So currently we have come forward with a logo for our comprehensive plan. We've also started that we are going to have some visioning survey distribution throughout the community. What that means is we're going to be working with some organizations or businesses in the community, asking them if we can put up some boards to get feedback on some information that, you know, these people may not be interested in coming to other meetings, but we want to get their feedback on what they think of our community or what they're looking for. Also, we're looking to do have a presence at the fair, so we want to take advantage of that as well. We have our Facebook page has gone live today, so stay tuned for that. Please like us. I want to continue to add everybody and keep everyone informed. I want to take you to the second page that I included. So we had talked about for a while that we were trying to put together a backbone. Well, we kind of put one together. This is a rough backbone. It may change, but it's a layout of what we're thinking that the plan is going to look like. It looks a little bit different than the original one, the 1999 plan. The life of the plan, we're projecting a 10-year plan. We're hoping that, 3, 5, 8 into this plan that we'll be able to update it. We want it to be a more feasible plan of the near future and not something that's unfeasible or not realistic. So we really want this to project what our community is today and the near future is going to look like. And then lastly, I have included our draft timeline of where we think we're at and what's going on. So we're in the outline structure development phase along with research and data collecting. And then August, we are going to start public participation. I will keep you all informed and get as much information possible out to the people so that we can get good feedback. Along with our first meeting will be the Health, Wellness, Safety, and Livability and Recreation meeting in August. All meetings are going to be worked in throughout the community into different buildings that kind of correlate with the topic proposed. So that's our little update. Anybody have any questions about it?
Any questions? Mr. Ternoni?
I just want to compliment our planner, Hillary, and the RMAP staff. We had a meeting on this subject a few weeks ago, and they really are going at this and coming up with some great ideas. So I'm just very appreciative and want to compliment them. I believe Ms. Rotman and Mr. Rohr with our Region 1 are the two, I want to say, principal individuals that are doing the most to put this together. So it's much appreciated.
Mr. Newhouse?
Recognizing that we moved into this endeavor not wanting to spend a fortune, and we tied in with RMAP quickly. My question was, and Ken's mostly answered it, has the initial workings with RMAP met your expectations?
Oh, most definitely. I really enjoy working with the group. They have a great insight on different ideas and have been a pleasure to work with, very easy, and I've enjoyed it. It's been working really well.
Good deal.
Any other questions for Hillary? Okay. Mr. Aleckson, you said you, I think, had one more thing?
Well, yeah, I do. Do you have anything else, Hillary?
No, I'm good.
Okay. My one other comment I just wanted to make is for any of you that didn't notice the discussion of the animal rescue facility in Belvedere closing recently, like I think last weekend. It says that we're going to have to work on this animal guidelines that we've been doing some things with in a strong effort, and I think it's critical we get that moved forward. So if people have comments on that, I know we haven't had much discussion on it in the past, but I think it's time we get after that and everybody figure out where we're going.
All right. Anything further?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Aleckson. Thank you, Hillary. And keep up the good work. All right. Finance. Ms. Gieske.
Item 10.1 is a motion to approve claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles & Associates and HD Supply, and Denny Ellingson abstains from voting on all claims presented by Conserve FS. This was approved in committee 5-0.
Motion by Ms. Gieske, second. Seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes. Motion carries. Ms. Gieske?
Item 10.2 is a motion to approve Resolution 17-26 designating Julie Stapler as the authorized agent for IMRF for the County of Boone. This also was unanimously approved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gieske, seconded by Mr. Newhouse. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Gieske?
May I just take a quick moment to remind all of my colleagues on the board here that Ken sent out an email, and then he put a copy today on your desk, and this is the request to submit to him the essential functions that you think are provided by the county. It is kind of the first step in putting our budget together. In our Finance Committee, we have laid out an outline of how we hope to proceed, And once you folks have all submitted this information, then it will go to the department heads, and they will do the same thing, and we'll start pricing things out so that when we go into the budget, we will know what it costs to do various things. So if you want to just fire what you believe are the essential functions of the county, please, to Ken as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kieske.
That's it for finance.
Thank you very much. Next up, roads. Mr. Stark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 11.1, motion to approve Resolution 17-25, Caledonia Road Resurfacing Project.
Motion by Mr. Stark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kieske. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Stark?
11.2, motion to approve all bids for Section 17-XX000-01-GM for bituminous material for county and road district projects.
Motion by Mr. Stark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Branson, I think.
Either or.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Stark, anything else?
That is all.
Thank you very much. I see Mr. Crone is here. Did you want to address us at all with anything or anything that you had to tell us at all?
You've probably seen the road construction going on that expected to continue the month and a half. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Crone? Mr. Newhouse?
All the news from downstate is if we don't get a budget, every road construction item statewide, I assume with state dollars, is going to go by the wayside.
That's true. Yeah, up to June 30th is our fiscal year, and all state projects would come to a halt. Our MFT and local funded projects are not to be impacted.
So any dollars for any of our road projects have no state funding involved at all, so that is not a question for the county?
That's correct. In fact, I've got confirmation from IDOT directly that all of our projects will not be impacted by this budget issue.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions? Ms. Kieske?
I did have one. I just have to find it. Oh. Justin, we just approved that $350,000 item. It says that the actual cost is more than that, and it comes from other funds. What other funds does it come from?
We have the other funds are the matching funds that we have budgeted for the project.
Okay.
Yeah, this was just a formality. As you're most likely aware, the project has been built.
Right.
The budget was $350 from MFT and $250 from matching. The project came in significantly less than budget, so we'll be pulling out less than $250 out of matching.
Good. Thank you.
Anything further for Justin? Thanks a lot. Next up, Health and Human Services, Mr. Carl.
Yes, thank you. Health and Human Services has a motion 12.1 to approve the quote from NIR Roof Care for repairs to 1208 Logan Avenue, which is the Health Department, in the amount of $4,685, $3,123 to be reimbursed by the Health Department in FY 2018. It was approved 5-0 at committee.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, second by Ms. Ward. Mr. Newhouse.
The roof in question is just over health, or it's over the next office, or how far is this roof work going?
If I'm not correct, it actually extends up to this wall, if I remember right. Is that correct, Ken?
No, actually, this is strictly the health department portion of the roof. What comes up to this wall would be the assessments office. So this is just for the portion of the health department roof that abuts up to the assessments wall on the other side.
Mr. Newhouse?
At the health board meeting a couple months ago, when word came that they were moving buckets from spot to spot to collect water coming through, the fear was that it would have to be a new roof. Sounds like repairs are being put in place instead, and pretty confident of the repairs, or are we hopeful?
Confident. This is not a single crevice fill. This is a sheeting cover, so it's not going to be a single crevice fill in itself.
It's a replacement and not a repair. Is that what I understand?
It's a sheeting that's actually a cover, and that sheeting is not going to just do a crevice repair. It covers that.
Good.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carlisle. Next up, admin. Mr. Newhouse.
Mr. Chairman, for item 13.1, I would move to approve employee contribution amounts for group health insurance document dated May 31st, 2017.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse. Is there a second? Ms. Gieske. Discussion. Let's do roll call, please.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, for 13.2, I would move to approve employee dental plan renewal with Northern Illinois Health Plan effective August 1st, 2017.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Roll call, please.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, for item 13.3, I would move to approve ordinance 17-15, prevailing wages for Boone County.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carl Larson. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
No.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
No.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Nope.
Denny Ellingson,
No.
Sherry Gieske,
No.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson.
No.
Motion fails.
Did I understand the motion failed, sir?
Motion fails.
Okay.
Mr. Newhouse.
Can I ask the ramifications from our administrator?
Well, unfortunately, this is a state mandate to have this ordinance, so you'll be in violation of Department of Labor regulations, and as much as I appreciate the feelings about being dictated to about what you pay contractors through these state laws, I would ask that you reconsider this. It will put the county in a violation mode with the state, and I don't think that's going to benefit us.
Questions, comments? Let's go Muskiski first.
Well, I think the sentiment, at least from my perspective, is it isn't just that we're violating this, this rule, but it just places such an inordinate cost, and so that damages Boone County from an economic perspective. And I understand, and I don't know what the ramifications are, but maybe you can enlighten us, Ken, on what magnitude are we talking about here?
I'm sorry, on what?
Yeah, is it going to, what happens? What are the sanctions? How, like when Justin does his own work, so it doesn't affect, does it affect you, Justin?
Mr.
That's
Crone.
what I'm trying to find out, is how does this affect us?
Thank you. Yes, it does affect us, and it affects us spending our motor fuel tax money. One of the stipulations that IDOT requires is that we do have this ordinance passed in order for us to spend state motor fuel tax money.
All right, I think I had Mr. Ellingson first. I'll get there.
I would make a motion to reconsider.
Second.
A motion to reconsider was made by Mr. Ellingson, seconded by
Mrs. Ward.
Ms. Ward. Mr. Ellingson, you did vote no originally,
vote
correct?
no.
So,
Correct.
Ms. Ward, I believe somebody would have to second who voted no.
I thought anybody could do second, no?
She's looking it
It's
up.
all right.
double check.
Somebody
Yeah.
else can do it then. It's okay. I thought anyone was able to do the second. Only
Sir.
the dissenting side.
I second.
Seconded by Mr. Ray Larson. All right.
That's fine.
Discussion. Mr. Ray Larson, we'll let you go first.
Just have a question, maybe Ken can answer it. Haven't we voted on this before? Is this
Every
something
year.
we have to do every year?
Every year.
Why,
You have
why
to-
doesn't it just roll over? I don't,
Yeah.
Well,
it's mandated that you vote on it every year?
yes, you need an ordinance, because the state changes these wage rates. So
I
when-
understand the rates,
Yeah.
but the, just the ordinance itself, I would think should stand, but if that's what they want us to do, that's fine.
Mr. Newhouse.
Just procedural questions or comments. I understand that a dissenting vote must bring the item up again. I have heard tonight that the dissenting second will be required. It sounds like we've got them. Can this be done the same meeting as the vote occurred, or does it have to follow at the next July meeting?
No, it can be voted on this evening.
Sorry. No, it can be moved on today.
Okay.
Mr. Carlisle.
Yes, Mr. Ternoni, we all know what the cost is and the impact is to our county on this. Does not the county have an appeal process to return this back and say, no, I want to talk about it? Can we not do an appeal and then maintain our current status as we have today?
I'm not aware of any appeals process with the prevailing wage laws. That doesn't mean there isn't one. I'm just not aware of that. We've never, frankly, never had this happen where the board votes down this ordinance. I know no one really likes it, and it's a real economic impediment. I totally agree, but if you want to, if we have another vote, the vote is what it is. Either way, get a letter to your legislators about it. Have a conversation with them. Again, we've just never been down this road before where there is no ordinance approved.
Ms. Gieske, you had your hand waving.
Well, with all due respect, I guess I'm going to state the obvious. Why did we vote on this if we have no right to vote on it? Because truth of the matter is, we didn't really have a choice.
But I think we have a choice. The choice is that we can vote no, and then we don't get to spend our MFT
Right.
funds. So it's another typical Springfield issue, and you know, as far as anybody else goes, I voted no because I'm tired of them telling us what we have to do, but they can't get their own house in order. So I think if nothing else, it's one small way for us to say, look, you're throwing all this on us, and you're not doing your job, but you expect us to do your job for you. It's crazy.
If I might just
Go
one
ahead, Ms.
follow-up.
Gieseke.
I think everyone is going to agree to that. And if we have to say yes to this, I still would like us to figure out what rights do we have to pass this information back down there and tell them we're just fed up with this crap. You know, if we're just going to vote for this because it's, you know, we don't really have a choice, because we're certainly not going to stop whatever Justin has to do, that will destroy our economic base even more. I mean, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. So I would hope that, you know, we have to pass this, but I would hope we somehow let them hear our voice, or we find out what ramifications do we have for next year.
Mr. Alex?
Thank you. This has been a problem for years, and I've always felt awkward. The first couple of times I voted yes with it because I realized we have to. But I think in just what we did tonight, we've kind of stated the obvious, and for people that want to hear it, we do have concern about it, and it does hurt us financially and always has. I think there are people in Springfield that are working on this now, as some have been for years. And I think if you watch what's happened in other states the last few years, you may see more changes in Illinois and Boone County in the future. So I do agree that I will vote the other way, so that it would pass it if that's the only change that's made here. And we are complying with what the state says we have to do, which I agree with at this point. But, you know, I still think we made a good point out of it.
All right, anything further? Mr. O'Malley?
I remember last year when I was in the audience, a union man was here talking about the attributes of prevailing wage, and he's not here this year. When you voted on this last year, he was here telling you why you needed to do this and what it brought to your county. He's not here this year. I think it's interesting, you know, we need to, you know, what are we getting for, you know, they told us all the good things about it last year, the economic impact and all the good things. I don't see that this year here.
Mr. Carlisle?
One last thing is, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, on getting force-fed these things. But I also believe there's, in numbers, things can change. What I'd like to do is connect up with the rest of our counties next to us and below us and have a full frontal assault on some type of an appeal to this type of activity that the state puts us through. And I know we talked to other chairs in each county, and I would like to see if we can together put a letter together with this, you know, not just ourselves. Full frontal assault, 10 sue these guys right up downtown.
All right. Let's go ahead and vote. Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
I just have a couple comments. One, I guess the union representatives do show up to our bid openings typically, and they have showed up to all bid openings so far this year to follow up on this. You know, I can't speak to the benefits of this, and I certainly, you know, I certainly understand the concerns and the discussion here. One thing of interest, and I hate to muddy the water with this, but is if you go to the Illinois State Department of Labor, and look at their prevailing wage, they have not passed. They're in the same situation where they're supposed to pass prevailing wages yearly as well, and they have not done that for multiple years. And I am required within my bid packages to do our ordinance, make a copy of our ordinance, and then also the state prevailing wage copy in there as well. The one that I use, I believe, is dated 2012 or 13. So, you know, so that's just a bit of information as well.
Well,
Ms. Swart?
what was the vote on that last one, please?
6-6.
6-6. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Ms. Kieske?
Well, if what you're saying is true, then the camel's nose is under the tent, so we should find out what else is out there and pursue it.
Go ahead, Justin.
Like I said, I didn't want to muddy the water, but it's you know, the state does certain things that are not real consistent with
Right.
others.
With reality.
Mr. Stark?
Oh, I, for one, am sick of these unfunded mandates from the state mainly. We're doing our part. They don't do anything. They take our tax money, and then we got to wait for them to send it back to us. And now we're going to basically put this in effect just because they say we have to and they can't pass a budget. No thanks. I look at this whole problem goes back for generations of people just kowtowing to them and doing the yes vote because they think that's what's expected of them. Main thing we can do is every time you got someone up for election that's been in there over 10 years, you vote them out because they're probably in the pocket of industry or in the pocket of big labor, which mainly this is with prevailing wage. We need to step out on our own, whether it's right, wrong, or different, and we got to change the pace. Otherwise, we're just leaving a whole mess for our kids and our grandkids in the bankruptcy that is going to be the state of Illinois.
Mr. Newhouse, last comment.
I can appreciate standing on principle, and I will echo Mr. Stark and Mr. Carlisle, and that we have an effective gathering of county governments that we can move this through. But just for the practical nature of where we're at, Justin, if we were to continue with our no vote, could you tell me some of the projects that use MFT that will not be done?
Well, Caledonia is one we've already essentially spent the money. We haven't, the check's not in the mail yet, but so it would impact projects next year. Next year's projects we have slated to do Manchester Road. It would definitely have a large impact on that. My understanding is the funds would still be built in our motor fuel tax pool. They would not be able to be spent. The other thing we do use motor fuel tax money for is salt. So we'd have to look for other funding options for salt over the wintertime. And then we also use it for pavement markings and shoulder stone. So we do use it for other activities other than just road resurfacing.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take a roll call vote. This first vote is on whether or not to reconsider the vote. So a yes vote would mean that we would reconsider and re-vote on the original motion. A no vote would mean that we would not. Roll call, please.
Marshall Newhouse.
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley.
Yes.
Brad Stark.
No.
Kathy Ward.
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
No.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner.
Yes.
Motion carries. So, I think we've discussed this enough, so let's re-vote on the original motion. Do you want to reread that motion?
If you would like it reread, that
Sure.
would mean I've got to push a couple buttons here. Okay, I would move to approve ordinance 17-15, prevailing wages for Boone County.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse
Second.
and seconded by Ms. Ward. Roll call, please.
Bernard O'Malley.
Yes.
Brad Stark.
No.
Kathy Ward.
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
No.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
No.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner.
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Newhouse, do you
Mr.
want to?
Chairman, no further motions from admin.
Okay, you don't want to muddy the waters anymore?
I love muddy waters.
Great man.
Next up, City County, Ms. Ward.
Yes. Number 14.1, contingent upon a like vote of the Belvedere City Council, approve the scope of service from the TRC for landfill consultative work in the amount of $3,000. This is a budgeted item. It was approved 9-0.
Motion by Ms. Ward. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Carl Larson. Any discussion? Ms. Kieske.
I just have a quick question. I'm not quite certain, $3,000 was budgeted originally, and now we need another $3,000?
Well-
Where did the budget come from?
We budgeted $10,000 for miscellaneous projects as the year went on.
Oh,
So we spent the first 3. This is the next 3.
oh, okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Brad Stark,
No.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
14.2, contingent upon a like vote of the Belvedere City Council, approve the low bid from the PDC Laboratory for the groundwater monitoring at landfill number 2 in the amount of $75,467.80. It was approved 9-0. This is budgeted a 2-year bid amount.
Motion by Ms. Ward. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ellingson. Discussion. Mr. Ellingson?
Yeah, as we talked about the last deal, and one of those things that gets very frustrating and you wish you could straighten out. I'd like to think this one would be easier if a group wanted to get active and start trying to straighten it out. It doesn't mean we don't have to spend this, because again, these are all government rules, is what we have to do with a problem like this. But the redundancy of things that have to happen in these situations just is totally ridiculous and a waste of a lot of money. And again, the state and the EPA and the other people involved can't see clear to try and move and walk forward to future years. I will vote for it, but at the same time, I'd like to think this is the last time I'd ever vote for it, because I'd like to think we can find better ways and pushing the EPA, as I know we have been trying to do for several years, to get some other alternative plans done that can make these not necessary.
Mr. Newhouse, I saw your hand first.
Ken or Kathy, probably last century, I heard that there's usually around a 20-year lifespan once a landfill, is closed, for the problems to persist and things begin going away at that point. Are we anywhere near on a 20-year schedule? Are things lessening, or is this a continual money pit that has no end?
Having been involved in it for decades, literally, it is a money pit that to some extent will never end. And the life cycle of these municipal landfills is typically 50 years.
50.
So you're kind of on the backside of that curve with methane production. The real issue going on here is you have a groundwater impact, and it's in violation of the EPA 620 regulations. And as long as you have that, you're going to face these monitoring type costs. Now, what we did do last year was actually I initiated a negotiation with the Illinois EPA that turned out to be somewhat successful in getting them to reduce the amount of the groundwater testing. So this bid would have been even a lot higher if we hadn't done that. The points are right on that we have to stay on this and go back to the Illinois EPA and come up with another idea. We just have to keep at it. But as far as this ever going away, I wish it would go away. You can do a lot better things with that money, for sure.
Ms. Ward?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Ellingson and Mr. Newhouse. We've talked about this at committee a lot. This is some of the money that I really hate that we have to keep approving. Mr. Carlisle is very involved in trying to get this at least reduced. I don't know if you want to talk about this tonight or not, Jeff, but there's several things that he's working on, and hopefully that is one of the goals of this committee, to make those expenses get a little bit less wherever we can, as Ken has done for this year.
Mr. Carlisle?
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. Yes, we are proceeding with an initial plan which will assist us, but the real crux of this thing is we're outlaying cash flow when it should be somebody else outlaying this cash flow. Now, I'd like to ask Ken and the chair if we could sit down and see if we can pull a couple of our representatives in on this so we can have a full-scale communication and open-eyed discussion. Other than that, I'll be open at any time. Just call when that does happen. I will be available.
Okay. Mr. Ellingson?
Yeah, I'd just like to make one further comment. As we talk about, what's happened and why we're doing it, it bothers me that we continually pay for monitoring, and I don't see us ever paying for anything to improve the situation. As long as you trap water and let it sit and pull methane, you're going to continue to trap the water problems, and you need to do things to whatever, percolate, do other things to improve it, and to me that's the problem that the EPA has in this whole thing, is all they ever want to do is monitor and get reports rather than try and find an end game that's going to settle the problem and get us on down the road. And we've talked to them about that for several years now too.
Ms. Kieske?
Just a tad bit off the subject, but this is for landfill number 2. How many landfills do we have?
I believe the county has 3, but this is the only one that the county government has any involvement in.
How many? I'm sorry, how many?
There are a total of 3.
We have 3?
But this is the only one that the county government has any involvement in. There's a closed landfill off Appleton Road that the city of Belvedere operated, and then there's a closed landfill called the Mig Duane landfill, which is right down the street on Logan Avenue, that was completely private. And those other 2 landfills are Superfund sites, which translated means they've cost millions and millions to remediate and close. This landfill never became a Superfund site because we were so active in working with the Illinois EPA and having remedies and doing things. They never felt compelled to advance it to the Superfund process, which that's a hidden success about this whole landfill, is that we avoided all of that years ago.
If only we would have had a bit of foresight. Hindsight is always perfect vision. When we took these on, who would have ever thought that years later, here we have all these monetary commitments. But anyhow, thank you.
Ms. Ward?
Yeah, I would just like to add that if it were not for the work of Ken, we'd be paying a lot more. So the county has a lot to be grateful for all the work that he has done. It's never easy. I understand what all of you are saying. I couldn't agree with you more, but he deserves a great deal of credit for keeping it as low as it is, and it's not low, but as low as it is. Thank you, Ken.
All right, we have a
Thank
motion on the table and a second. Roll call, please.
Kathy Ward?
Yes.
Carl Johnson?
Yes.
Sherry Branson?
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle?
Yes.
Denny Ellingson?
Yes.
Sherry Gieske?
Yes.
Carl Larson?
Yes.
Ray Larson?
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner?
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse?
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley?
Yes.
Brad Stark?
Yes.
Motion carries. Anything further, Ms. Ward?
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Next up, Public Safety, Mr. Ray Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From the Public Safety Committee, motion to approve continuation of the drug court program for July through August 2017 in the amount of $9,000. This was approved in committee 5-0 and is not a budgeted item.
Motion by Mr. Larson, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Discussion. I see Ms. Jarvis is here. Would you like to address this at all, or? Are there any questions from the board? I don't see any. Roll call, please.
Carl Johnson?
Yes.
Sherry Branson?
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Larson, anything else?
That's it from the public safety, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Jarvis, if I could bother you for just a moment, would you please come up and give us a little info? I know there's a drug court graduation coming up. Maybe you could give us a little refresher on what it is, what it does, and how it affects.
Absolutely. Our drug court program, as some of the information has indicated, has been one that has historically been funded through the Adult Redeploy Grant. So it's been a program that's now going into its 4th year of operation, and we are proud to be able to say that we will be hosting a graduation ceremony on June 30th at 4 p.m. I believe invitations went in the mail to all of you today, so expect to see those in the next few days. But in a nutshell, our drug court program is for those people who are court involved, who without this program would be sent to the Department of Corrections. So they are our most serious offenders that we have in the court system who have significant drug or alcohol addictions. So what we do in this program is it's approximately 2 years in length that they are participating in this program. They work intensely with the court system. There are a lot of departments that are involved, including the state's attorney's office, the public defender's office. Obviously, probation is involved. It's a very, very intense program. High court contact, high judicial contact, lots of consequences for mistakes, but also lots of rewards when they do well. So we will have 2 more people graduating on June 30th. I would certainly love for all of you to be able to come and see that. It is really quite a moving program when you see the graduation, because the people will give a little bit of a personal testimony where they talk about what their life was like prior to the program, knowing that they were prison bound, and where they are now. It is really quite remarkable. So if you have the opportunity, I would certainly love to see all of you there.
You said there's 2?
2, yes. The program is 2 years in length, so it does take a while for our people to get through. But I believe at this point we have, I think we are on our 8th graduate. So that is quite remarkable. And all of our people, I do need to say, part of the requirement of being in the program is they have to be Boone County people. We don't accept people coming in who don't reside here. That is one of our requirements. So these are all of our local people here who we are servicing. We're not servicing Cook County people. We're not servicing, other surrounding ones. It's our local people.
Any questions? Ms. Gieske?
2 of them. Where's the graduation?
Thank you. It's at the courthouse in courtroom 1.
And do you use volunteers?
For the program?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely we do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Ms. Travis? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next up, special committee is community building. Ms. Ward.
Yes, we met last week. You probably see, if you go by there at all, that construction is continuing. The completion date is still set for August 1st. And on Sunday, this coming Sunday at 10 a.m., there's a special Heritage Day concert. And at that concert, those of us who are part of it will be honoring our veterans and our community and nation as a whole. So we invite you all to come. 10 o'clock this Sunday.
Thank you very much. UCCI, Ken?
Next educational event will be July 24th, 25th in Galena.
Community Action Agency, Ms. Ward.
Yes, we met a couple weeks ago, and the big news from that is that if the plan goes through from the federal government as proposed, the money available to this area through the Community Action Agency, which pays for electricity and water and heat and gas for those people who do not have that, will be cut from $14 million to $6 million. Some people might think that's a good idea, some of us don't. Mayor Chamberlain is the chairman of that, and of course people are very concerned about that tremendous cut in services to our area.
Thank you. 911, Mr. Newhouse.
New mapping software is moving forward. Real time at the time of the phone conversation with the call-in, so that'll be a enhancement that is being pursued. There is an open position for the dispatchers, and there is an interview process proceeding for that also. Had 108 applicants, so if you wanted the job, you're a little late. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Newhouse. Any other committees? Mr. O'Malley?
I have one from the Veterans Assistance Commission. They meet every 3 months. They give away money to help people who are in need, and they did $12,000 in March. It's down to $8,000 this month. They do more in the winter because of heat. It's interesting that for the 6 months, they get about $250,000 apparently from our donations, from our taxes, and they run right on budget. But so far for 6 months, they spent $125,000 to give away $55,000. So a little bit less than half of what they're able to give away. The rest is expenses. I think they would kind of like to get to something a little less expensive for rent and things, because that would save them some money. So we've talked about some future things for their leases up possible.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Ms. Ward?
And we had the annual meeting of the Extension and Education Services in Mountain last week, and the 3 counties that are there are Boone County, DeKalb, and Ogle, and it's really working quite well, I think, to have the 3 counties work together, and perhaps it's something that we might have to look at as a county when we're trying to reduce expenses, which is have several counties working together on the same situations. They are once again going to be asking Mrs. Gieske for $150,000, as was the case last year, whether or not we have that much money to give out. They do have a $130,000 carryover at this point, but they are still waiting money for the state and don't know what's going to happen with state funding for that as well.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other committees? Wonderful. Scheduling of committee meetings. Ms. Gieske?
The next Finance Committee meeting is July 11th at 6:45 p.m. right there.
The next Public Safety Committee meeting will be July 10th at 6 p.m. in this room.
Next Tuesday, the 27th of June, is a ZBA meeting in this room at 7 p.m. And we should have a PZB meeting. I believe it's on the 5th of July in this room.
Admin will be July 10th, 6:45, this room.
City County will be July 12th, 6 p.m. at this room.
Mr. Carlisle?
Health Human Services, July 6, 6 o'clock, this room.
Mr. Stark?
Roads and capital improvement, July 11th, 6 o'clock, this room.
Wonderful. Any unfinished business, Ken?
No.
All right, new business. Just more information. We have heard it. We've heard it talked about a lot about how the sheriff's department and his maintenance people are getting very, very good over at the courthouse, moving buckets here, there, and everywhere to catch leaks. We are trying to find ways to solve the issue. Even though they've gotten really good at it, I hear they can lay 10 buckets in 2 minutes flat. We are hopefully going to be able to find a way to at least limp along a little better. Next up, if you don't know, I'll let you know. We did finally sign the paperwork and purchase the building for the Sheriff's Department. So that is closed. It's all done. We had easement issues. We had water, sanitary, and storm issues. We had all kinds of fun stuff. So you thought it was going to be simple just to buy a little building, and it really took, what, an extra 3 months, 4 months, it seemed. So, but thanks to the hard work by our state's attorney and by Ken in his office, we were able to get things squared away and taken care of. So that's it for informational. We do need an executive session, I know, for personnel. Ken, anything else we need it for? Oops.
As you were handing out compliments, it's my understanding that someone with a little bit of water knowledge in their background was pretty instrumental too, so I think he ought to be acknowledged.
Thank you, sir. Ken, what else do we need?
Collective bargaining and land acquisition.
Okay, land acquisition, collective bargaining, and personnel. I would accept a motion to go into executive.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Mr. Newhouse. Roll call, please.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Milner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes. Ken, do we expect any motions to come out of?
No.
Probably no motions, except one important one. That would be to leave, to adjourn. But, all right, we are in, we'll take a quick 2 or 3 minute break and then be in executive.
I would say back in 2009 or something like that, over the high rent district on North Road, there next to Winnebago County, a couple subdivisions. And there was an old property with about 20 acres. And that old property had a bunch of snowmobiles, and they tricked them out so that they had wheels on them, and they were racing them in the summertime in the woods. And everyone was